Hi everyone, this is Terry, aka Vidhead85 on YouTube, and I actually have the lovely, the amazing Ms. Carol Spesser, who is one of the pioneers of the LGBT movement here in Buffalo. She doesn't like to...
No, I like it.
Okay,
I like
great,
Medicare this
great.
year. I like it.
Yes.
I feel I've earned it. So no, I used to shy away from it, but now I
Yes.
say embrace.
Yes, well, she has definitely earned her keep in the LGBT community, and many people may not know about her. But today, we're going to have like a little kiki small interview here, and I don't remember when I first met Carol, but I know that as I've gotten to know her, her and I share some interesting something in common. We're both minorities within a minority. It's funny because she says when I'm in Jewish circles, I'm not lesbian, and when I'm in lesbian circles, I'm Jewish. So, with me, we have similarities in that. But, so that's a
Double
great thing
duty,
that
they
both
say.
of us can, double duty. We can definitely connect with each other on that. So, I have the first question, and
Okay.
it's about family life.
Okay.
Were you brought up in a religious family, and how did you get into ministry?
Well, the ministry is like a recent part of my life because I became a chaplain maybe about 9 years ago when I've been doing, LGBT organizing since the 80s. But I began to see about, 8, 9 years ago that religion was where everything was going to shake out, and then that it was going to be a big factor in our achieving any kind of equality, a substantive equality. So I decided I would become clergy, so I'd be more effective at working with clergy. So it was a strategic move, an activist move to become clergy, and I still see it that way. So 'cause there's a lot of people who are clergy who then do some activism, but I don't know a lot of activists who strategically say, I need to be clergy. I've always been very spiritual, but I knew that it was going to be a fit and it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
Now, in terms of my family stuff, no. My family we're Jewish, and being Jewish, it's both a culture and a theology and a religion. You feel you're really a tribe because you go way back, and it really is a tribe. So I've always felt a part of that.
Okay.
And the temple is my home base, but it wasn't that important in my family growing up.
Okay. And now, did you come out to your parents? What was their reaction? Or did you just kind of like say, well, it is what it is, and that's, or it was like never really spoken about, but just known?
No, it was it was even more dramatic. So I was very good at being at dating and looking straight, as many people are, and so I was a successful person who dated and was bored. I have all these friends now that I've since come out 2 years later, and
Yeah.
I said, really? I said, no, I knew since I was very little, but
Right.
but when I was growing up, everything's always in context. And growing up, I had no options. You didn't have any options that you could see being gay in any other way, except it was an abomination or it was a sickness.
Yeah.
So I did not come out to my parents ever until when I was in college, and I had a boyfriend, John, and we dated and we got along great. Thankfully, we didn't have to have that much sex. He didn't seem to be that much interested into it, And I never had a trauma. I just was bored,
Right. Okay.
as many people are. But one time we were in the '60s, we're doing a little mescaline or whatever we were doing or something, and we were pretty, loose. And John said that he confided in me that he was gay, and I said, "You're gay." I think, or homosexual. I think we knew the word gay. And I said, "Well, I think I am too." And we were both horrified because it wasn't a good thing to be. So he said he was going to go to a psychiatrist, and he would let me know what happened. Went to the psychiatrist, came back very shook up, and the psychiatrist told him it would take 20 years to cure him. So we were both horrified. We thought we were on a marriage track, so we decided we would do a suicide pact. That's how kids, because like a lot of gay people do try to commit suicide. So we had the suicide pact, and the bottom line is John died and I did not. And so from that, I got put into a mental hospital.
So did you tell your parents, or did you ever?
Well, it came out from that.
Okay.
Because then I got treated for being
Okay.
gay. Treated for being gay. That conversion therapy.
Yeah.
I had that.
In fact, the Ninth Circuit Court
You know, that
has
thing went
heard-
out, is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
all right.
That's okay. The Ninth Circuit Court, I'm just
I
gonna
don't
make
care,
sure
I just
that it-
didn't know if that was like.
But currently, the Ninth Circuit Court has heard arguments regarding conversion therapy ban
Yeah.
to minors, and I'm definitely going to be watching that. But now, how did you get involved in organizing the Dyke March and Pride, the first Buffalo Pride? Like that was.
Well, the Dyke March came several years later,
Okay.
so I have good friends who were involved. But I organized the first outdoor gay pride celebration. And so years ago, it was sort of a wilderness here, and nobody was doing anything. So,
So what year?
like in the late 80s or
Okay.
mid-80s, I'm not good at time. I
Okay.
was even thinking before I was coming here, I should be looking up dates, but, you know.
That's all right, though.
You know, but,
So late '80s wilderness here.
yeah, so I think that's when it sort of was. So I founded an organization with my friend Larry Peck. We founded the first, called the Buffalo Gay and Lesbian Community Network, the first organization after Manishing
Okay.
that had a database.
Right.
This is where we upgraded. This is
Right,
the,
okay.
my time period was overseeing all the coming out of individuals in the community. It was the coming out period. Otherwise, before that, everybody in the closet. So this organization was an organization that shifted us from being a closeted, clandestine, behind-the-scenes community to out. So the first outdoor stuff, it took like 4 years I did 4 years of coordinating gay pride. The first 2 were indoor years
Right,
because
okay.
you had to build up
Right,
to,
okay.
you know, it's
Yeah.
the issue of the internalized oppression is our greatest enemy. It's that
Absolutely.
self-perception. It's the fear. It's the shame-based culture that we were raised in to think there's something wrong with us. So
Right.
to have to get people ready for that. So 2 large indoor celebrations, which weren't just an event, but a time period with like a week-long thing of a workshop day and a banquet and all these
Oh, okay.
things. Yeah, many
Kind
things.
of like it kind of just bringing people together.
In a variety of ways.
Yeah.
So that we can begin collectively to change our collective consciousness, to change our collective culture. We deserve this. As individuals, we're
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
But we needed to have a way to come together to say, we're getting ready, So the first outdoor celebration, we gave it a lot of thought and then decided to hold it in a way, sort of in a hybrid way, on the steps of the Historical Society, by the lake, because it was a little more sheltered.
Right.
We had, certainly the media was there and everybody understood that. And we created an event that was very mystical, that went from, you know, light time to dark. I have
Right.
videos of it, and I mean to be getting this stuff out. But many people came, and it was the coming out day, coming out time. And I even have, Terry, the 3 channels coverage of that very first outdoor pride celebration to watch, to juxtapose that
Yeah.
to, now it's pretty interesting.
So, did you get any backlash off of that from coming from like the media or people? Or
I have to
anything
tell
like
you, I'm always amazed, we're all like bracing ourselves from some horrible stuff a lot
Right.
from the media, but no, that Buffalo has not had, sometimes there's ignorance, but I found that, at least the local media is open to saying, I don't like when you say it like this
Yeah.
is a better way. I
Yeah.
do find that we have editorials that meet our needs or that are supportive, and I don't know, they were okay.
So now, like gay nightlife during that time, like how much do you know of it? What was it like? Do you know how it was?
Like way back when I was doing it, well, I can still throw a glass ashtray in the lesbian bar if necessary.
That's all right.
You never know, I'm older, but I believe it's similar to a Frisbee.
It's in the wrist, yeah.
It's in the wrist.
So, yeah, so what gay nightlife did you know back then?
Well, back then, which there was a time period before AIDS, when the men's community and the women's community operated separately. So it really was it was a catalyst for us to come together because we wanted to help our brothers, and they needed the women were lesbian feminists a lot and needed our organizing skills. The joke was back then that the women taught the men how to organize, and the men taught the women how to lighten up.
Okay.
But so when I tell you about back then, as a lesbian, back then before AIDS, and I remember going to the meeting where everyone said, "What is this gay cancer?" You know, it was like so to watch this whole arc happen. But women just hung out with women, so we had lesbian dances once a month at the Unitarian Church. We had lesbian bars. I mean, everybody had some men friends, but as a community, we didn't do that much together. Now we don't even think about it.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the growing pains that kind of happen, that they kind of have to separate because of they're like two distinct, because men and women are very different. And then I think that we see gay men and lesbians kind of coming in together a little bit more.
But you're right that because the gay men are above all a men's culture, and lesbians are a women's culture.
Right.
So we're going to see things none of us are raised in and I wasn't raised in a lesbian women's culture. I was raised as a woman, and you were raised as you understand how men think, and so they're so very, very different. And men are from how's it called?
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yes, and then the gay guys and the lesbians are on some other.
Yeah. So during that time, had you been harassed by the police?
I never was, but plenty of people were. But I never. But I had attitude, but I never. I never had that experience because I didn't go to bars that much, so I went sometimes. But you're looking at us and.
Oh yeah, just checking the time, but it's
okay.
All right. So
how long do we have? Oh,
long
you
as
can
we
edit.
need
You
it.
can edit.
Yeah, I can edit.
Yeah.
So now, were you also involved in the women's movement? Because I do.
Yeah.
I heard about a lot of lesbians that were kicked out of now because they didn't think that they could, survive.
Yes, in fact, I was part of the original Now chapter here in Buffalo, and so I was, the openly lesbian person in the local national Now. And so I was very active. In fact, that's how I moved here from Cleveland. I've been to college in Cleveland, so I came back to Buffalo, but I didn't know, and that's where I got involved in Now first before I got involved in the gay stuff, and I was looking for lesbians.
Well, women's movement and chock full of lesbians. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
But now you mentioned before AIDS and nightlife, but AIDSgate often refers to ignoring the HIV/AIDS epidemic when it started coming out. And you did tell me at one time that you knew some people who had passed from the disease.
Plenty of people.
Tell me maybe about like 2 or 3 of them that really that you remember the most, or that really touched you.
Well, that's an interesting thing. I had a very close friend, Dan McQueen, and we did a lot of activism together, a lot of AIDS activism too. And he started this thing called the Blue Light Project, where you put a blue light in your window at Christmas time because you're thinking of people with AIDS, and you get a lot of people who do that.
Okay.
He was, he was a great guy, and we did a lot together. He got hate mail from being public, and I have a lot of his hate letters because they rattle you when you get them.
Yeah.
And when he was dying, I don't know, this is sort of a funny story, but about me, but in a certain way. But he was in the hospital. We thought he was going to. A lot of times, the people you thought they were going to die, and then they rallied. And he was very, very sick, and he come over. And he whispered in my ear, "I just want to go home." And I said, "You'll be going home soon," because I thought he meant, to Jesus, to heaven. I don't know. I said, "You'll be going home soon. You will. I promise you." And he said, "Just go home." I said, you will, because your sister's coming soon. We're waiting for his sister to come from Pennsylvania. And then eventually it became clear he wanted to go home to his house.
Right.
So, because I'm also, you'll be going home. So, but he wanted to go home, and he rallied and got to go home.
That's great.
And he died at home. So I always think about that.
So now,
very close friend, and when I look at his pictures and how emaciated he looked, And everybody else, and there was a time period where we had like one funeral after another. Jimmy Smith, who was a great choreographer and so big leader in the drag community, and just charming and did so much stuff, and then to, you know, watch him fell in love with somebody, this wonderful guy, and then, you know, not and heard that they had AIDS, and then to watch them just pass away. It's just one time after another. We never, as a community, even came together yet to even grieve those people in a gay context, because at the time, the AIDS memorial service was handled by non-gay people, and it was almost you didn't even talk about the gay end of it.
Like it was sanitized?
Yes, it was.
That more
And I think about that a lot, that it would be good for those of us who never really got to do it to have something, you know, at midnight on, we're followed by a drag show.
So now, the next one is actually going into DOMA, Don't Ask, Don't Tell. There was a lot of controversy about both of them. Thankfully, DOMA and Don't Ask, Don't Tell are history. But what were some of your thoughts when you heard about those?
Which part, hearing about which part of it?
DOMA, and then the Don't Ask, Don't Tell came first before.
Oh, you're hearing about the victory part.
Don't Ask, Don't Tell became law before the DOMA did. So how did you
Back then. I don't know if you meant the end of it or the beginning of it. The beginning, I can tell you. I was at a Creating Change conference. It was these conferences that the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force did years ago. And that's how I, as an early leader, would go to these, yearly conferences and learn how to take things back to Buffalo. And I was in LA, and they passed out a letter from Bill Clinton. I have that letter somewhere. It was saying, I am going to fight to get rid of that gays can't serve in the military. And
yeah,
then,
because that was pretty unofficial at the time, right? Or was that Department of Justice policy?
No, that was the policy, absolutely the policy. So he passed, so these letters went out to everybody that he was going to stop that. He was going to change that policy. Little did he know he would get such pushback from it, because Don't Ask, Don't Tell was put in place because he couldn't really achieve that goal. And I remember being at that conference, and everybody was freaked out because a lot of people were anti-war, feminist people like myself, and so the last thing we really cared about was being in the military.
Right.
So it was like, oh my God, now we have to pick this up. It was like getting thrown a hot potato. Like with all the issues and all, we would want that. We would fight to be in the military. Oh my gosh, peace, love, and see, I was at Kent State. Why would I want to? Why would I gotta fight for this? But it was wise. It was a wise thing. I also remember that they had a show that night, and they did some jokes with, that they did Boogie Woogie Bugle Man, boy, or whatever, boy, with all in gold lame dress uniforms. How quickly we could whip together some uniforms for a show.
So now DOMA, that was passed because Hawaii was going to open marriage to gay and lesbian couples and give more federal benefits for that. Do you remember, what was the atmosphere around that when you started hearing more and more about it?
Well, when you started hearing about that, first of all, it didn't have a huge impact on things because it was just starting in Hawaii, and it wasn't on the radar here, so it didn't have that huge impact, locally, because it seemed nobody even was thinking that we were ever even going to achieve marriage equality.
Okay.
But when I think about what had impact locally, I always remember how hard we worked for SONDA, which was to get the the gay stuff attached to the statewide non-discrimination, and those things impacted.
Right.
But I remember that we're working very hard for it, and it was at the same time that we were about to lose the 4th Super Bowl. Buffalo was going to lose the 4th. We lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. I was at Buddy's bar, gay men's bar. And the day we lost the 4th Super Bowl, and I can tell you, every gay person in Buffalo would have traded off Sonda in a second to win that Super Bowl. So I was.
Now, we know that you are a founding member of Stonewall Democrats. When and why did you join, and where do you see where do you see Stonewall in 5 years?
Well, I should say I started it, so I wasn't a founding member.
Okay.
So I thought it was time for a local organization. So I brought a bunch of people together and in a room and ahead of time spoke to certain people that when we had this meeting to start up a gay political organization, I was going to say who would like to be a temporary chair. We were all set behind the scenes for all that stuff. I had my friend Sheila Healy, who was the director of Governor Cuomo's Office of Lesbian and Gay
Now
Concerns.
the Andrew, Mario Cuomo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I used to represent Buffalo with Mario Cuomo. I went to a
Yes.
lot of meetings there. So I had Sheila come in because she would be, the person that goes, oh, Sheila's coming in. There must be an important meeting. I better go to it.
Right,
But
okay.
it was all, it was also, she was a part of it too, to get a lot of people in the room. And that's how we started. I was about to start Pride Path magazine, which was the first gay magazine, and I published and edited that. So I was going to be, I didn't want to do Stonewall. It was a mistake I made. I should have stayed and headed it. But instead, I spun it out and put people, and, made sure that what I thought was in good hands. But obviously, I didn't do that good a job for quite a, because it got co-opted by people who were, working, who were getting jobs out of it.
Okay. Now, where do you see Stonewall in 5 years?
Well, I think Stonewall will be an important part of the Democratic Party locally. It's shifting that way. So it won't just be, where we're token and tossed a few bones, where I believe that we'll be, leaned on for our grunts, whether it's, signatures or
Will be an integral part of.
I believe we will
Okay.
absolutely be an important part of it, because what has happened in the last 2 or 3 years that I think is a big paradigm shift is that people are no longer, straight politicians are no longer self-conscious about seeking the endorsement or actually wanting the endorsement. In fact, they want it, and and they talk about it with ease. They say, oh, I just was at my niece's wedding to her girlfriend, and so the stigma of this LGBT stuff, at least in the Democratic Party, is leaving, and in mostly, now, it's still in communities of color big time, but, that's the frontier.
Okay.
I have to tell you, that's a frontier, but within Stonewall, no, we're on our way.
Great. Now, I had to ask this question. I had to throw this in there. I heard that you say that you're writing your memoirs. When are you going to publish them?
Well, I am. I don't even, I've been thinking how I would publish them, because there's because you can do it sequentially, and that's what I've been doing. And then the other thing is, when something comes up that makes me think of something, then I write up that incident or that thing or that memory. So, and I every time that happens, I seize it. So,
Yeah.
I helped this gay guy get political asylum from South Africa. So I have a great
Wonderful.
story about that's making me think of it because of Nelson Mandela, because he
Yeah.
because after 2 years of working on this with the immigration and with the UB's immigration clinic,
Right.
everything, the irony was that the day of the trial was the day Nelson Mandela was elected.
Oh.
And so he's having this trial to try to
Right.
get political asylum, and at the same time, things are happening across
Yeah.
the lake, so to
Yeah.
speak. And I was with him when he called his mom, and you could hear people on the phone celebrating
yeah.
in the street, and then he went back. He was able to then go home. His mom was actually very sick. The whole reason for his tour was wanting to be able to go home and see his mom,
Yeah.
and then be able to come back. So
Right.
he brought me back great souvenirs, including a poster like Nelson Mandela about this big ripped off a tree, which I have.
Great. Okay. Now we're going to get
So
to
that's
some
an example
fun
of a story
questions.
that I have.
Okay.
Lots of stories like that.
So now we're going to get to some fun questions.
All right.
Okay. What is your favorite breakfast, sandwich, and dessert?
My favorite breakfast.
Yep.
And then-
Sandwich and
Is a breakfast
dessert.
sandwich the same word, or breakfast comma sandwich?
Breakfast comma
I
sandwich.
got you. Yeah. My favorite breakfast is, I'm so boring. Soft-boiled egg and 1 piece of toast, and then some fruit with some wheat germ, or in a blender with almond milk.
Okay.
And then I drink that drink, and then I have that. Well, there's my breakfast.
Okay.
I'm
So
shameless.
favorite sandwich.
Probably tuna fish.
Okay. And your favorite dessert. What would you say that would be?
Oh, I would say pie with ice cream on top. But, you know, I don't really have a favorite dessert. I have a favorite part of the meal, which would be dessert.
Yeah, okay.
So I had to pick that pie thing, but, because I love pie, but I would seize the moment, and if you can, have dessert first.
All right, okay, so, do you know who your first same-sex crush was?
Yes.
Okay.
It was this little girl down the street staying with her grandparents. She had blonde, curly hair, long, and I was maybe about 5, and I was, you know, I played baseball and everything, and my best friend was a guy, you know, that kind of thing I didn't even know, you know, and, but she lived like, her grandparents lived like maybe 5 houses down, and I saw she's in the window, and I was doing a snow on the ground, and I was doing angels in the snow and showing off and clowning around, and she was in the window like this, and that was it. That was it. Now, so you want to point to a moment? There you go. So there was something going on there that was just, I knew, that was it.
So now, what about your first same-sex celebrity crush? Like, who did you, like, really like, who made your heart go pitter-pat?
All right, Annette Funicello, do you know who she is?
I don't.
Okay, 'cause she was
But
young.
I'll put a picture up for the audience.
All right, she was a Mouseketeer,
Uh-huh.
you know, from the Mickey Mouse Club. So
Okay.
I'm like watching television when I'm a kid, when it was black and white,
Yeah.
and there's only a few
3
shows.
channels or something.
That's it, you know. And so she was one of the original Mouseketeers, but she was beautiful. And there was this, on the Mickey Mouse Club, there was a series that was a part of it called Spin and Marty, in which there was a girls' camp and a boys' camp, and she was from the girls' camp, and Spin and Marty were at the boys' camp. But there was this part where I think it was a Spin that hurt his head, and she was in a bathing suit, and he got to put his head on Annette's lap. And I
Yeah.
tell you, I went steady with that image for years, or that feeling. And,
Yeah.
and years ago, I wrote funny songs, and I sort of sang them on a circuit. I wrote the tunes and the words, and I would go in coffee houses.
Right.
And one of the songs I had was called "If I Had to Take a Bet." It started with Annette.
So now, did you have any opposite sex crushes as a kid? Like, who did you get anyone, like any guys, like when you were, did they make your heart go pitter pat?
No.
Or did you just kind of just think that that was supposed to be the way it was as it was?
No, they never, you know, and when I would see straight couples kissing or whatever on TV, I would would wonder what part of it I was relating to. Was I relating to the experience of kissing the woman? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, you know, because I didn't think I was relating to the experience of being kissed by the guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I had a hard time sorting stuff out when I was a kid, because we had nothing to go on,
Yeah,
no role
no
model.
reference, no frame of reference.
No, you know, the only frame of reference I had as a kid that was helpful was early TV. They had the Peter Pan musical was in black and white on TV, and this woman, Mary Martin, played Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So I would watch that show year after year, and I would say, well, that's it. There's a girl living as a boy who has a girlfriend. Sign me up. Because Peter Pan, everybody knew, was Mary Martin, and then she had a girlfriend, Wendy, and had a band of boys that followed her. It seemed like, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Just like a lot of
that's
my
what
friends of mine, when they got older, said they would look at Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
You know, and it's there's an image there for me, something I can't, so, yeah, Mary Martin.
So those were some of your hints along the way.
Yeah, that's something, you know,
Okay.
something was going on there, so, yeah, but without the language, then you can't, you know, you don't have the concept. The
Yeah.
language gives you the concept, and when we were younger, there were no words. I remember finding out about the word homosexual and being floored by it when my friend said, when boys like boys and girls like girls, it's called homosexual. It was like, okay, and then I ran to the library and asked the librarian for any information on homosexuals. So the librarian looks horrified and goes behind the counter, behind the desk, and opens this like glass cupboard with a lock and takes out this big volume and puts it down. I'm really excited about it. I sit down, take it to a table, and I'm opening up and I'm looking up homosexual law. It was horrifying, horrifying back in the 60s, early 60s. It was horrifying. I was that book. I gave it back to the librarian and said, that can't be me, because I can't be murderers, rapists, you know. So, but the word itself was liberating, that there was a word to describe, like transgender people probably didn't know what the heck was going on,
Right.
and it's liberating just to get the language, so you're not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, I remember quite a few times finding out, one of the first few times that I knew what gay was, because when I was growing up, we had gay to define that. But when I remember I saw queer as folk, and I was like, okay, I'm not the only person
There
that's
you
like
go.
feeling like that. So that was definitely liberating.
That's what it is, and so I think it is, you know, when I look at our story, the evolution of us, which is really our spiritual journey of saying yes to who we are. Those moments where we realize we're not alone, that people everywhere, there are people like us everywhere. You know, that is a huge, important step for everybody. I am not alone in this. You know, that's that whole campaign with kids. What's it called? Where so you don't kill yourself campaign that was on the
Oh, it
internet.
gets better.
Yes, well, that's the whole point of it. It's to feel that you're a part of something bigger. You're not alone in this. So I absolutely know that when you saw that, you probably said,
Yeah.
"Oh my God!" And then you have to act like it's like the biggest thing in the world didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say, I became a librarian. I am a librarian. So I became a librarian, I think, in part to get rid of those crappy books, get better
I hear
books.
you. Okay.
All right, well, everyone, this is the interview with Carol Spesser, and
And charming Terry Perdue.
and unfortunately, Miss Nola could not be here today. She's in a bit of pain, but we're going to be sending up some thoughts for her. So, have a good day, and
It was an honor to be here.
see you
Thank you,
later.
Terry.
Thank you, Carol.